Hey there, this is Trey Baker with the Mustard Seed Company, and welcome to Trey's Talks to Grow. I have a survey here for you, and these are the top 5 office pet peeves as assembled by LinkedIn. LinkedIn surveyed a whole bunch of professional people, and these are the top 5 things that they said get on their nerves at work, okay? Number 5, people who don't respond to email. Don't you hate that when people don't get back to you on email? Number 4, folks who start meetings late or go too long. I'm especially in the category of the go too long people. Number 3, dirty common areas. Man, I've been in some refrigerators at some different workplaces, and it would scare you to see what's growing in there. Number 2, constant complainers. Wow, we've all been around people like that. And the number 1 office pet peeve of folks, according to LinkedIn, is people who don't take ownership for their actions. Wow, that's a huge pet peeve of mine. But I have a special question for you today. If those are pet peeves of others, I want to talk to you about excessive baggage at work. And what are you lugging around at work? You know, when I go into different places and different companies, I see people with different types of baggage hanging on them and everything. Now, typically when you think of baggage, we think of, we're going on a trip and we pack our bags, right? So we intentionally put things in the bag that we need. And what I've discovered about these negative areas is those are things that got in there somehow, and we're not even sure how they got in there, but we definitely don't need them, and they're very, very destructive, and they can be very negative to our work environment and to the other people that we work with. So I'm going to tell you the 3 that I see most often. The first one is this. I see people all the time with the baggage of bitterness, right? And bitterness says, I deserve it. I deserve it. People that are bitter walk around all the time saying, it should have been me, or things never go my way. And you've been around people like that, and I've been around people like that from time to time. And the interesting thing is they tend to think they're keeping it all inside, but the reality is it leaks out all over everybody. The second type of baggage that I see from time to time when I go in different workplaces is this. Anger, right? And anger says, I demand it. Right, so they got this anger, this bag full of anger, and they're just walking around at work, and you've seen them, right? They're so mad, they're so angry, and typically when I've come across people like this, here's what I've discovered. They always see themselves as a victim and never the victor. They believe that their environment is against them, the other workers are against them, everything. They are always the victim and never the victor. The last bag I see is a pretty big one, okay? So give me a sec. I see people all the time walking around with the excessive bag of greed, right? And greed says, I desire it. These people have this insatiable desire for everything. It's never enough. And they suffer from a scarcity mentality. And basically what that means is if you get something, then that means I get less. There's 2 kinds of people in the world, big pie people and little pie people. And little pie people just think that there's not enough for everyone to go around. And yet we know that's not the case. So how do we do a baggage check, if you will? How do you get rid of this baggage that you may have accumulated that you don't want? Well, let's go back to our scenario about planning to go on a trip, but instead of now, we're actually back from our trip. Well, when we get home, we don't just go up into our bedroom and put our suitcase on the bed and leave it there, and then for the next trip, just try to shove everything on top of it, do we? Of course not. It'd be silly. So what do we do when we get home from a trip? Well, we unpack, right? It's pretty simple. And so you're going to have to go through and unpack some of the baggage that you may have picked up. And from time to time, when we unpack the baggage that we picked up, that may mean we need to see a coach. That may mean that we need to see a counselor to help us deal with some of the baggage. And you may be saying or thinking, hey, that sounds really personal to see a counselor or someone and talk about those kinds of things. And that's a personal deal and it doesn't affect me at work, but I can promise you this. It does affect you at work. There is a professional cost to personal chaos in your life. And if you've got all that baggage on you, you can't possibly reach out and embrace the opportunities and the challenges that are in front of you at work. So, if you'd like to connect with me and ask me any other questions about baggage, I'd love to do that with you. I'd love to find out and hear more from you. This is Trey Baker with the Mustard Seed Company, coaching, consulting, and training services for health, wealth, work, and life.